Have you ever wondered why it's becoming increasingly difficult to afford food in Canada? It's a question that's been echoing across households in the past few years. The answer, unfortunately, isn't as simple as we'd like it to be. Food insecurity, a public health issue of significant concern, is on the rise in Canada. In 2022 alone, an alarming 6.9 million Canadians, including 1.8 million children, found themselves grappling with this crisis. This isn't a mere statistic. It's a heart-wrenching reality that underscores the financial constraints and inadequate incomes that Canadians are up against. And it's not just about the meals on our tables. The repercussions of food insecurity ripple across various aspects of our lives, impacting our overall health and inflating healthcare costs. It's a domino effect that's hard to ignore, but what's the root of this problem? Well, it's a multitude of factors, but one that's been looming large is inflation. 85% of Canadians express concern about the impact of inflation on their household finances. Almost half of them are extremely concerned. This worry isn't restricted to a particular age group or demographic. It's a shared anxiety that's sweeping across the nation. From the bustling cities of British Columbia, Ontario, and the prairies to the serene landscapes of Atlantic Canada, the concerns vary. Some are worried about rent or mortgage payments, others about heating costs. But the one constant in this mix is the fear of affording healthy food. What's more, this issue is further exacerbated for single-parent households. 40% of them are unable to cover basic needs, forcing them to make sacrifices like reducing their food intake. This isn't a choice anyone should have to make, especially when food is a basic human right. As the cost of living continues to rise, many Canadians are left wondering how they will afford their next meal. It's a question that needs urgent attention, and it's time we delve deeper into the issue. Stay tuned as we unpack the complexities of the Canadian food market in our next segment. Behind every statistic, there's a human story. Let's hear about some Canadians struggling to afford food. Imagine being a single parent, juggling a job, childcare, and household chores, only to find that putting food on the table remains an uphill battle. That's the reality for many single-parent households in Canada, who face an even higher financial strain. The struggle to cover basic needs is a constant, with 4 in every 10 single-parent homes unable to afford them. Take the story of Sarah, a single mother from Toronto. She works 2 jobs just to make ends meet. Despite her efforts, there are days when she has to make the heartbreaking decision to reduce her own food intake to ensure her children have enough. Sarah is not alone. Many families across Canada are making similar sacrifices, choosing to go hungry so their children can eat. Then we have the elderly, like 70-year-old George from Vancouver. Despite having worked his entire life, George now finds himself choosing between buying medication and buying food. It's a decision no one should have to make, yet it's a reality for many seniors in Canada. Food insecurity is not limited to certain age groups or class levels. It's a widespread issue impacting millions of Canadians. From the bustling cities of Ontario to the quiet, rural areas of Atlantic Canada, the concern is the same. Affording daily living expenses, including healthy food, is becoming increasingly difficult. Canadians like Sarah and George are not just struggling to afford food, they are battling the physical and emotional toll of food insecurity. It's a distressing reality, and it's hard not to feel a sense of despair. But remember, these are not just statistics. These are real people with real stories facing real challenges. These stories are a stark reminder that food affordability is not just an economic issue, but a human one. Why is food so expensive in Canada? One key factor is the lack of competition in the grocery market. You see, Canada's grocery industry is akin to an exclusive club dominated by a handful of major players. This monopoly leads to limited competition and inevitably higher prices for us, the consumers. The Competition Bureau, in its report, highlights this very concern. It points out that our grocery industry is more consolidated than that of many other countries. Large chains not only own but also operate discount rivals. This gives them an unfair advantage over independent grocery stores, further stifling competition. Foreign discount chains find it challenging to enter our market because of the strength of these domestic players. It's a classic case of the big fish eating the small ones. But who suffers in this scenario? It's us. the Canadian consumers. The Bureau's report calls for government intervention. It suggests that we need to encourage new entrants and increase competition in the market. But change, as we all know, takes time. And while we wait, prices continue to rise. We're caught in a cycle where the lack of competition leads to food inflation, which then hits hard on our wallets. And unfortunately, this isn't just a problem for low-income households. It affects all Canadians across all age groups and class levels. The grocery giants are taking us for a ride, and it's high time we put a stop to it, because without competition, the price of food will continue to rise, and Canadians will continue to struggle. It's time to bring change to the unfair market. The solution to food affordability in Canada requires more than just a competitive market. A pressing issue like this, that affects millions, calls for comprehensive, multifaceted solutions. Policy interventions are a crucial part of the equation, aimed at improving the incomes of low-income households. Remember the grocery rebate introduced by the Liberal government? Well, it was a step in the right direction, but it wasn't enough, especially considering that many single-parent households, those who often struggle the most, were ineligible. But there are other measures in place, like the Canada Child Benefit, which have been designed to alleviate financial burdens. These are commendable efforts, but they still don't fully address the root of the problem. The need for a living wage that allows families to cover not just food, but all basic needs without having to make sacrifices. And let's not forget about the high cost of housing. In many areas, rent or mortgage payments eat up a significant portion of income, leaving little room for other essentials like food. This is where policy change can play a pivotal role. By implementing measures to make housing more affordable, we can free up more income for families to spend on nutritious food. But we need to think long-term too. Raising the minimum wage, for example, could be a game changer. It would mean that work pays enough for families to afford life's necessities. This isn't just about putting food on the table, it's about dignity, about ensuring that everyone has the means to live a decent life. And, of course, we can't overlook the importance of education. By improving financial literacy, we can empower individuals and families to make better decisions about their spending and budgeting. This, in turn, can help them navigate their way out of food insecurity. While these changes won't happen overnight, they are necessary steps towards making food more affordable for all Canadians. Let's not forget that food isn't a luxury. It's a basic human right. And it's high time we treated it as such. The affordability of food in Canada is an issue that affects us all. It's a challenge that touches every age group, every class level, and every corner of our communities. It's a problem that's seen millions of Canadians, including some 1.8 million children, grappling with food insecurity. Households with inadequate incomes are disproportionately affected, leading to a strain on health and well-being. It's a reality that sees working-class families turning to food banks, a clear sign that the current state of affairs is not sustainable. We've discussed the lack of competition in the Canadian grocery market, a factor that contributes to food inflation. The dominance of a few major players limits diversity and dynamism, especially in rural areas. And ultimately, it's the everyday Canadian who bears the brunt of this. The cost of living is significantly impacting residents, with many worried about affording necessities like healthy food, heating, shelter, and prescription medications. It's clear that we need to encourage competition in the grocery market. More competition means more choices for consumers and potentially more affordable food options. It's a change that won't happen overnight, but it's a step in the right direction towards easing the financial pressures many Canadians face. This issue affects Canadians in the most significant ways. Food is an essential need, and no one should have to worry about affording it. It's a conversation that needs to continue until we see tangible change. We encourage you to share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. If you found this video informative, please give it a like, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more discussions like this.